This right here is new video just into us. This is a village in eastern Ukraine coming under heavy shelling just a bit earlier today. Multiple explosions heard in the background there as well. Also today, suspected Russian military vehicles strolling through Donetsk, one of those territories Putin declared independent as of yesterday. The Biden White House promising a swift and severe sanctions, but its allies in Europe are already ahead of us. They're taking action already. Our congressional correspondent Kilmany Dukart standing by with more on the White House's response to the Russian invasion, which at least now they are saying invasion, Kilmany, a bit change of tone here.
Absolutely, Bianca. And that was really the top liner in all of this, to hear the Deputy National Security Advisor Jonathan Feiner classify Russia's actions as an invasion. It will be interesting to see in a few moments how the president defines Russia's action as the White House is looking to pass more sanctions in coordination with its partners and allies. That is, of course, on top of that executive order that Biden issued on Monday, where he is barring U.S. persons from doing business with the U.S. or with the Russia-backed republics of Donetsk and Luhansk. Interesting to note that the senior administration official that was on a phone call with reporters said that Putin had made it clear that he views Ukraine as part of Russia, and he is using that explicitly to justify and threaten war. The officials said Russia has already been present in these regions, but troops moving into the Donbas region would actually be a new step that Russia is looking to take. Interesting to note, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has responded to all of this, issuing this statement. As he escalates the war against Ukraine, Putin must be made to pay a heavier price than he paid for his previous invasions of Georgia and Ukraine. This should begin but not end with devastating sanctions against the Kremlin and its enablers. The president should waste no time in using his extensive existing authorities to impose these costs. Well, we had also been hearing, Bianca and John, about a potential summit between Biden and Putin. That same senior administration official said that that was looking less likely as Russia seeks to invade. But it's interesting that the Deputy National Security Advisor, Jonathan Feiner, he said even though Russia is showing that it's closing the door to a diplomatic response to this conflict, Washington is not, believing that this is the best way to de-escalate at this point.
That is interesting. And of course, we wait to see what the president has to say. He's expected to address the nation in a few minutes. Kilmany Dukart, live for us in D.C. We appreciate that update from you.
All right, let's focus our attention now on Ukraine and the fears of a full-scale invasion at this hour. All of this coming as Ukrainian President Zelensky stands firm, insisting his country will not yield any more territory to Russia. Zelensky's defense minister preparing his troops for battle, acknowledging, quote, there will be losses. Let's find out more about this. And welcome in correspondent Sarah Williamson, who is live in Kyiv, monitoring the situation there. Hi, Sarah.
Yes, hi, John. Now, President Putin has actually announced that Russia will be recognizing the former state borders of Luhansk and Donetsk, as written in the Luhansk and Donetsk constitution, calling them independent now, not as they were. Now, this means that that is the area that is controlled by the Ukrainian government, which is 70% of the Luhansk and Donetsk region is controlled by Ukraine currently. Now, he wants to consider that as an independent state. Now, this basically means that we might see Russian troops come into Ukrainian-controlled territory in an attempt to annex it. This is a huge concern. He has also announced that Russia is leaving the Minsk agreement, which basically means that there is no rules when it comes to war anymore. All remaining embassy staff as well, all personnel that was still here in Kyiv have now also been instructed to leave. And this was news that has just come out within the last moments as well, which indicates that there is more to come from Vladimir Putin. So really, it is a far cry from the peacekeeping mission that Putin said that Russian troops were on when he sent them here last night. Now, President Zelensky did say after that initial announcement from Vladimir Putin that Ukraine will continue to fight for their land no matter what, but in a peaceful manner. Let's take a listen.
There are now absolutely no reasons for chaotic actions. We'll do everything to keep it this way further on. We stick with the peaceful and diplomatic way. We'll only walk this way. We are at our land, and we are not afraid of anything and anyone. We don't owe anything to anyone. We won't give away anything to anyone. We are confident in this.